everybody, welcome to my Pete and Pole Air Camper / RV7 YouTube video channel. Thanks for stopping by, I appreciate it. If you've been here before and you've looked at some of the other videos, you've probably noticed the long, boring introduction at the beginning of each one. I am redoing that now. I just want to cut it down, keep it nice and short and sweet and to the point, so again, welcome. One thing I also wanted to make note of is I'm going to include some contact information for those who have questions and would potentially like some help with their project. Haters, don't waste your time. I am Johnny on the spot with the delete button, and I will delete your email post haste and not even read it, so don't waste my time, don't waste yours. Anybody else looking for some help, advice, have questions, concerns, whatever, you'll now be able to contact me directly. I'm quite regular on email, so I should be able to get a response to you relatively quick. I've got a ton of photographs for both aircraft, so if you need some clarification on something, chances are I've got detailed photographs and I'll be able to help you out. Let's see, other than that, I think that's it. I'm going to keep this short. Again, if you like what you see and you want to help me out to get through my RV7 build project, you can visit my GoFundMe. Just do a search for Caretaker Arrow. That's Caretaker with a K. I also have an Amazon wish list. There's some pieces, parts in there that I could use. Again, if you feel moved enough to help me out, it'd be greatly appreciated. Or if you want to just contact me directly, you know, we can talk about whatever, and so I'll just leave it at that. Anyway, thanks for coming by, I appreciate it, and again, hopefully you'll find these videos worth your time, and that's that. So let's get back to building, and I am now going to shut up, and I'll talk to you later. So I am now done with all of the internal sealing of the fuel tank. So I have, obviously, the stiffeners are in place as I talked about before, the ribs are in place as I talked about before. I've got the fillet seal around the ribs, I've got each individual rivet head sealed, and that's it. Let me see. Got this back side of the ribs with the fillet seal all the way around, including way up front around the nose, especially on the flange side. I've got the nose, the flange of the nose through here sealed with fuel tank sealant really well. So the internal sealing of this tank is now complete. On the outside ribs, it's the same thing. The fillet seal around the edge. Individual rivet heads are sealed. Those are the rivets that hold the reinforcement plate in place. The plate itself is on the back side. But you can see that I've got those rivet heads sealed. There's the plate, and the plate is also fillet sealed. There's the filler neck. Now the filler neck and the reinforcement plates, of course, those are those get the fuel tank sealant smeared on them first, and then they're put into place, and then they're wet riveted. And then you come back and use the squeezed out sealant to create the fillet, and if you need to, you add more sealant to create the fillet. But those are done. And then down here on this end, let me go around to the other side, sorry. I'll go around this way, get a better angle on it. There's the mount, the angle that will be the mount, part of the mount, some of the mount, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, that is in place, and again, it's fillet sealed, and the rivet heads are sealed. Okay, so now I've moved on to what you see here is just some dry fitting of the access cover and the vent line and the fuel line. This is just a dry run to get my vent line fitted inside the tank. And that's what I want to talk about real quick now, is how I get that vent line in place. So basically, here's what I did. I put the individual, sorry about the camera work, these bushings, I put the bushing in place first on each rib. And then I just lay out a piece of fuel line, basically the length of the fuel tank plus another, say, 5 inches, and I cut it. And then this fitting is not here. With the fitting out of the way, I feed the fuel line or the vent line through this hole. And then as I feed it through the hole, I reach in and, guide it through this bushing. And then reach through here and pull it and guide it through the bushing. I continue to do that until I get it all the way over to this bay. I don't worry about clipping it. I just run it all the way across till it hits this wall. So at that point, you can cut it even with this wall. Or better yet, when you have it, before you put it in the tank, as I said, if you lay out the tubing like on your table, and you lay it out so the end of it is here, which is the end of the tank, lay it out, and then roughly in this area here, this length, you would cut it. That's what I did. I didn't have extra length, I'm sorry. So I just laid it out. One more time, let me get this right. So I laid out my tubing, even with this rib, which is the end of the tank. I just laid out my piece, roughly even, a little bit shorter than this side, and cut it. And then I fed it through the hole, through each individual bushing, kept feeding it through, and then I did not clip it, I just ran it straight across until it butted up against this rib. Then I came back. So now this end of the tube is just stopped in this area here. And then I went ahead and put this fitting in. And you can see that the fitting is quite long. So you have your loose end of the tubing is back here somewhere, and the fitting sticks out this way. So this little bit of difference here is what you need to cut off to get your tube length. So now I've got my tube, I got my fitting in place, and my tube is over here just loose. At that point, I went ahead and clipped it in place and bent it. Now this is really soft tubing, and it's only 1/4 inch in diameter, so you can bend it inside of here by hand. So I went ahead and clipped it, and then pulled on it and pushed on it and reached through the filler neck and did whatever I needed to do to get this bend. I bent it up. You want this as high as you can get it for the vent, so that you don't have a lot of fuel. If this tubing just came across, it was down in this area, it would be submerged in fuel whenever you fill the tank, and the sloshing around and the pressure difference will force a lot of that fuel through the vent. So you want this up nice and high so very little, if any, fuel gets in it. So now I have it clipped and I've got it bent, and it's held in place now because it's bent and it's clipped. You come back down to this end. You have your fitting in place with the nut out of the way. you can pull your tubing over and lay it against the fitting, and then eyeball where the flare is on the fitting and mark a line on the tube. So the tube just comes across here. You find the flare, mark it on the tube, take the fitting out, pull the tube back out, which you can do even though you bent it on that end. You can still bring it through just enough so that it comes out here. Make your cut, and then pull the tube out and flare it. Now, I've made a video demonstrating how to use a flaring tool and do your own flares, your tubing flares, using that hand tool. I've got a separate video for that. That will be in the tools section of my channel. So again, to recap real quick, 1/4 inch fuel line, the way that I did it, laid it out even with the end rib here, laid it out, cut it just short of this end rib here so it would actually fit inside the tank. Fitting is out of the way, run it through the hole, feed it through each individual rib bushing, come to this end. You can either clip it and bend it now or wait, but you want to bring the tubing all the way over till it hits this rib. Come back, put the fitting on. With the fitting in place, you lay your line next to the fitting, and then you can mark where it needs to be cut. Take the fitting off, pull the tube out, cut it on your line, flare it, and then you can come back, feed it in, run it all the way through, clip it, bend it, and then put your fitting on and tighten up the nut. Now, there might be a little bit of trial and error. Of course, it's best to cut it too long than too short, so you might want to leave it a little long, put your flare on it, feed it through, and you know, if you feed it through and bend it and it's jammed up against this rib, but you can't quite get the fitting on because the tube is still a little too long, then you have to take it back out and trim this end. You don't want to cut your flare off, so you just trim this end and then feed it back through, and you know, a little bit of trial and error. It's simple to do. It will make sense once you start going through it, but that's just how I did it. And I got that fuel line uncoiled, cut, trimmed, flared, bent, and installed in probably no more than, I don't think it was more than 20 minutes. So, and like I said, I've got the access plate also just dry fit to make sure things fit the way they should. I've got the fuel line made, the fuel pickup line. I made this pickup line when I made the other one for the other tank. So when I did the left tank, when I made the fuel line for that one, I just went ahead and made the fuel line for this one, and it fits fine. A couple things to look out for. You don't want this 90-degree bend to impinge on your stiffener here. This one does not. I know it looks like it is. It looks like it's really close, but I've got a good probably 1/8 to 3/16 inch of a gap between the tubing and this stiffener. I've got safety wire wrapped around my screen. I made this myself. I just got some stainless steel mesh material to make the screen, and then I wrapped it with the safety wire, and I put a little bit of tank sealant along the seams of the mesh and on where I had wrapped the safety wire to keep it from unwrapping. But I do not want the safety wire laying on top of the skin, because with the vibrating, it will either cut through the safety wire and it could potentially unravel, or the safety wire would cut through the aluminum, obviously creating a leak. You also don't want the tube to come across and cover up, lay across your vent. So keep it nice and tight against the ribs so your vent here stays on, or your drain remains uncovered. You don't want to run your fuel line across this. And you want to keep it as low as possible. Like I said, I don't have mine quite touching the bottom of the tank because I've got safety wire underneath there, and I don't want this assembly to be vibrating and, basically scoring through the skin. So it's very close to the bottom, but it's not touching the bottom. And it's tight against the rib so that this stays, I'm not blocking this drain. So this is all fitted together now. The vent line is in with the fitting. This is all in correct with the pickup. And I got my fittings on the outside in place. So this is ready to go. I can go ahead and disassemble this and start with the fuel tank sealant and then reassemble it permanently. So that will be the next step. Hello again, everybody, and as usual, thanks for coming by. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it worthy, and again, as always, hopefully you found something that was worth your time. So thanks again for stopping by, and again, making this short and sweet. I've got contact information available now, so if you feel the need to help me out with my RV7 project, feel free to email me. Or you can go to my GoFundMe, as I said in the beginning, at just do a search for Caretaker Arrow. That's Caretaker with a K. And again, I've got the Amazon wish list. And for you RV7 guys and girls out there, if you watch these videos and are moved to purchase an RV kit of your own, if you'd include my build number with your first order, Vans will give me $100. It's kind of like a referral, I guess. So if you were to do that, I would greatly appreciate it. It's no money out of your pocket. It's just something Vans does as an incentive. So as I said, if you decide to build and you order your first kit, if you'd include my builder number, I'd appreciate it. And all this contact information will be in the description of each video. So check out the description and do what you feel you need to do, and I would appreciate any help. And again, if you need some further assistance, contact me. I've got photographs, I've got videos. We can communicate directly, and hopefully I can give you some further guidance if you want it. So that's it. Again, thanks for stopping by. Come back frequently. I try to do a video or two every week if I can. So subscribe, keep coming back, and I will talk to you again soon. All right, thanks.